Savia from Scrappy Mania, and today I have my first journal flip. So I've completed all the pages in this journal, and for this one I used watercolor paper, and this was my watercolor journal. So I do have other journal like this one here. This is a handmade journal, and it's my acrylic and paints and others medium journal. This one is my watercolor journal. So the first page was I was at travel, and I saw these pretty designs on a wall in the hotel, so I decided to paint that. And then this one is my mixed media doll. I used some of those gel sticks, and I bought some neon color gel sticks, and I really love how that color just pop. Working on design and flowers and watercolor flowers. Again, working some more on loose watercolor. So after I did the loose watercolor, I didn't really like it. I wasn't able to get the form that I wanted, so I went over it with some ink, and this is the result of that. I saw an image of a peacock, so I decided to draw that, and that's my interpretation of what I saw. And then Ginger Kush, she had an episode in June 8th on Lady in Red by William Chase. She did it with her acrylic paint. I did mine with watercolors, and I think it came out pretty nice. I really do. And she's a great instructor. So if you're looking to learn how to paint, I would recommend that you subscribe to Ginger Cook's channel. She'll walk you through it. And then this one is a page I wanted to write about lazy. And at that time I was kind of not feeling that well because my kids weren't cleaning and things like that, so I decided to write this verse in there from 1 Timothy chapter 5 verse 8, and I wrote it down. And then before I wrote this down, I went ahead and was doing some watercolor painting and some freehand drawing, and that's the result. So a lot of, the reason why I keep up with an art journal is because sometimes life does give you some curves. You get frustrated every once in a while. Instead of taking your frustration on others or saying something that you might regret, when you're angry, it's best to just come to your craft room or a nice peaceful area and just write that anger down on your page. Paint it, cover it. And by the time you're finished, you'll be so happy of what you composed, because on this one I was not feeling very happy. But after I did all the watercolor, I really love how it came out. Then I wrote the verse, and I really like how that lettering came out. So by the end of the day, when I was done with it, I felt a lot better. So that's a good advice. If anything, you should keep an art journal, and it just helps you keep your sanity. At least it does for me. And this one, I saw an image of birds, and I decided to use also my gel sticks. I really love those really neon gel sticks. And then this one, I saw some peonies, and I tried to color it and use negative space and preserve white space and blah 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 blah, whatever. So this is the result of that. I saw on Pinterest this little bunny, and I copied it, or I hand drew it, and I wrote "Wish Upon a Star," and I like how that came out. This one was just playing around. Didn't really have a reference photo. I was just playing around to see what came up, what happens if I just put some color and start drawing. I have some stamps of little monsters, and I decided to use that stamp for inspiration, and then I was just playing around. This, I was also playing around with creating flowers without a reference photo. If you notice, when I do reference photo, like this one, I do a lot better. When I don't use reference photo, this is the result. So I do like using reference photos if I can. This is a stamp that I use, and I created the vase, and then I used the stamp on top of it, and I was using masking, and I think I have a video on this one. I also have a video on this one, and this is one of those Prima stamps, and this is the Julie Doherty, one of her newer creations. Really love that stamp. I used a reference photo for this one. I really love how this came out. It really came out very nice. And I used some watercolor pencils for that. This was an episode on the Art Sherpa. And also that's another great reference YouTube channel that if you want to learn how to paint, you definitely want to subscribe to her as well. And she used acrylic. Now these are acrylic artists. I like watercolor because it's less messy. So I usually like to transfer their skills or what they're teaching me with acrylic medium. I transfer that to watercolor medium. Now you're a little more restricted on the watercolor media because with acrylic you don't have to worry about preserving the white, because you just go back with white paint and you can easily put your shadows in and such. With watercolor you have to think ahead about that. And if you cover all your paper with paint, there's no way you can lift that paint up. So I do like how that came out. I have some children books that has illustrations. It's a fashion illustration book, and I use that to trace and make these dolls. And I do have a video how you can take an illustration book, trace out the doll, put some chalk in the back of your tracing paper, and then transfer it onto your page. It worked really, really nice. Again, I'm still want to learn how to do those nice loose painting that I see done on YouTube. They just take some watercolors, plop it down, and then it comes out gorgeous. So I saw an episode, somebody was doing some kind of scenery, and I tried to reproduce that. A little successful. I mean, it did come out kind of good, but not as well as the other person was doing it. Then here I'm just creating a color chart and just playing around with mixing colors. I was playing around with a stencil and with some watercolor paint that I have. So these are some opaque watercolor paints, and that's what the results of that. This I went ahead and decided to use some pastels. So I have some oil pastels and I used that for there. This is a video that what I did is I had a transparency and I had an image under the transparency. I used some ink. I drew out the image, or I traced the image on top of the transparency, and then took that transparency and plopped it over, and that created this image, and then I colored it. So I do have a video on this. Go ahead and visit my channel for that video if you like this technique. It's a technique that I learned from Creative Bug. This one I just saw an image and I decided to try on doing that same image. This is another technique that what I did is, again, I used the transparency. This time I had an image of a model behind the transparency. I traced out the model and then put it down here. This is another image by Paint My Photo that I found, and I decided to create this vase. I'm getting better at creating vases and flowers. So another vase from Paint My Photo. And this is Still Life Fruit by Tiffany. And I wrote down who the artist was. So it looks, I like how that came out. It looked pretty nice. And then of course this is my little angel that I was playing with. So I used this angel for some of my cards. Playing with making flowers, I really like how this one came out. Actually, I was using a book, and it was the Jane Davenport book, and I used that to help me create this doll. I really love how it came out, especially liking the nose. I was using the same book, but this time I didn't do it as well as I should have. And one thing I'm learning actually from other artists is, let's say I do like this tracing. Then what I can do is I can take tracing paper and I can trace out what I like and then use that for other projects. So I think I'm going to do that with this one because I really like how that one came out. Some more faces, and this one I was using a reference photo to create that one, and I do like how that one came out. Especially I did do not too bad on the body part. This was an episode from the Art Sherpa, and she did it in acrylic. I did it mine with watercolor. I really love how they came out. Here is an episode that I saw somebody in YouTube creating Chinese watercolors, flowers. They were creating a peony. It didn't really come out that well, but it's there. And that's a good thing about Art Journal. You are more free to create. You have more creativity. You don't have to worry about wasting paint. You don't have to worry about destroying a canvas that may have cost you 20 or 30 bucks. You just put your ideas on this, on this journal. If you like it, you can show other people. If you don't like it, you just tuck it away. But it's really relaxing. It helps, and it helps also develop your artistic skills. So this is supposed to be Elsa, another flower, and I started putting some devotions on my pages. This is a stamp by Jane Davenport that she has in Michaels. So I bought that stamp and just colored her in. So I saw a video on color gradient with watercolors, and I tried that out. And then I had some extra flowers around. I just put it there, and I put a saying. This is another drawing that, learning how to create my mixed media dolls. I'm trying to develop my skills. This is a YouTube video using one of Jane Davenport's stamp. This is also trying to learn how to create profile. As you can see, I didn't do such a good job on that, but it's good enough. Now I really like this one. I saw this on Paint My Photo, and I really like how it came out. I'm getting better at creating fruit, leaves, and flowers and vases. So those are some of my strong drawing points. Here's another doll that I was just practicing with. And then this one, there is a video on how to create that one. And I did put a saying, give God your first. This one, again, trying to learn how to create faces on a profile instead of straight ahead. And then this one, I had this extra little stamp image, and I decided to put it there. Ginger Cook had an episode where she was teaching how to create a bridge, and it was actually San Francisco Bridge, I believe, in the waters and all that. So I decided to try it with watercolor. This is out of one of Jane Davenport's pages. Notice the neck is huge. The body is also long. The proportions are a little out, or the proportions are a little off, but I do like how it came out. Not too bad. This one, I threw some watercolors in the back and to begin with, and then I just put the images on top. I just glued those images that I had laying around. This one, I really like how this came out. I really love how the hair came out. The profile came out pretty nice. I love how the like a heart shape for the face. The nose is not my best nose, but I do like how it came out. And I was using bleeding tissue, and I do have a video on this one. This one I'm not that happy with this. It's supposed to be an episode from Ginger Cook where she's teaching you how to do perspective. And she used acrylic. I used regular watercolor. It's okay. I need to work on that skill. Here again, I'm trying to learn how to do proportions. At least it doesn't look a little wonky. Most of the time when I do full figure dolls, they look either too short, too long. They look always wonky. Like, let me show you one that is wonky. Like this one. That looks weird. Look at that. She's like really long shoulder, short little torso, a little longer feet. It just looks weird. So I do have to work on that. This one, I'm a little happier with this one because it doesn't look as weird. I really love how this one came out. This is actually another episode, Ginger Cook. You can tell that one of my favorite artists is Ginger Cook, and her daughter, Cinnamon Cooning, are the best. So she was teaching John how to do a coffee mug, and as she was doing hers, I decided to do mine in watercolor. I do like it. Though this one came out, it's okay. again, you know, and she has an episode called Raz. So while she was doing her little composition, I did my own little version. And actually, she wasn't doing faces. I just did a face. Don't really like it. Now, the reason why I was doing a face, because I have these wonderful Elegant Writer. And if you don't know what an Elegant Writer does, you put color on. It's like a marker, right? You see that? But then if you take some water, see how it moves with the water. It creates these different little colors. And then if you pick up that color, then you'll see some purples and some greens. It's really, really nice. So I was just playing with my Elegant Writer on that one. Here's another playing with the Elegant Writer. So I just sketch a forest with things, you know, with trees and stuff. You know, and I'm also trying to learn how to preserve the white. That's the biggest thing with watercolors, is learning how to preserve your whites. So once I did that, I just sprinkled some water on it. And then I went over with my watercolor pencils. And I like it. Not bad. Here's another one that I was working with a vase. So I was seeing another of my favorite artists is the Frugal Crafter. I was seeing how she just dropped colors in the background and she colors on top and it comes out gorgeous. So that's what I decided to do. I just dropped some color on a wet watercolor paper, let it dry, and then I went back and started creating my flowers and my vase and such. And actually I sketch out the flowers and vase prior to using the, you know, wetting the background and putting my color. I don't think I have a video of this one. I'm not sure. So this one I do have a video on, and it's actually a product review video. I bought a set of watercolor pens, and they're by Mozart. I also had refills with it, so you can buy the refill cartridges for those watercolor pens. I'll put the link to it, but in this video, I created this drawing and then I used that to color it, and I really like how it came out. So that's pretty much it for this art journal. This is my 4th art journal, and I hope you like it, and thank you for watching. Bye now.